Give us the power. All right, welcome everybody. It is December 8th, and we are here at the Public and Legislative Affairs Committee meeting. My name is Sarah Lentz. My pronouns are she, hers. I'm chair of the board and chair of this committee. We also have board member Sawtell, board member Noor, Dr. Valenzuela, and Dr. Scallon here tonight. And we've got a shorter agenda tonight. But we've got three things. One, to just review if there's any other feedback around the fall community engagement sessions that we did. And then we're going to start to plan the spring. Oh, am I freezing? Sorry. Um, Start to plan this spring, if you can believe it. And then Dr. Valenzuela has put together an awesome draft of what a plan can look like for community engagement around advocacy. And so she'll talk us through that plan, and then we can give some feedback on that. And I think that's it for tonight. But first we can, let's see, actually, we should do some public comment. We'll see if there's anybody that would like to give public comment. I do not see any attendees. They all went to the first block, but not the second tonight. So we'll go ahead and close public comment. And then we can just spend a couple of minutes on the community engagement sessions for this fall. I think at our last meeting, we just talked about kind of the general categories of feedback we heard. Were around boundaries. We heard a lot about boundaries. We heard a lot about cell phones. We heard a lot about just experiences that folks were having within the district, positive and negative. And those were the kind of the biggest categories. I don't know if anybody that joined any of those sessions, if there's anything you would want to add.
I would just say that I think that's right. I think that it was probably both spoke to the importance of the topics, but also that having those set topics doesn't leave a ton of space for sort of what I would think of as like the open, what's on your mind type, where you can get a sense of anything else. So it felt like it was really driven by cell phones and in more specifically boundaries.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. It felt like we could only touch on a small other things. But I think the exception of that was for the multilingual session. Like we did, it was a longer session, right? And there was opportunity for people to really bring questions that they had about anything, which was nice. But I agree, they did. The hour is nice because it's in the evening, the hour is nice, but it does go by very quickly when there's more than five or six people in the room, which we did have several sessions that were big like that. And Dr. Valenzuela, I don't know if you're from your perspective, if you wanted to add how the process was for you this year, if there were any challenges that you hit or anything that worked really well.
No, I don't. I just thought that this year our families are much more engaged in coming in many sessions that we have. I think that the attendance are far better this year.
Yeah. And also, I love how we set them all in advance and we advertise them all as a slate, and then people can choose. I think having the virtual session is a good one. I think having the session where we know that there are going to be interpreters and there's other barriers that we can account for and solve makes a lot of sense. And I think that makes sense for me to carry into the spring. But I would just also look to the other committee members to see for the spring kind of what you think community engagement might look like. Do we do the same thing? Do we change it at all? Yeah, any ideas that you might have?
I would say keep it the same as much as we can, especially with the multilingual sessions and the online Zoom session. Those are amazing. and needed.
Awesome. I was also really surprised how many people came to the one at the United Way. I just wasn't sure how many people would know where that was or like, but it really filled up. Like there were tons of people there. Um, so I think maybe continuing to use a community partner makes sense in some way.
I also think that people are interested in the topic of boundaries, and so they showed up. And most of the people who showed up are elementary and middle um,
Yeah,
parents, middle school parents.
yeah. And usually in the spring, we do a set that also has budget information in it. I don't, Dr. Valenzuela, I don't remember when we did those last year. Do you remember the timing
The timing of it is after the budget presentation.
after the budget presentation? And Dr.
March.
Scown, do you know when that is yet?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. It's always the budget presentation is always the first board meeting in March. And by, I think, charter. And so um, we should be aiming to schedule these in March.
so
We had an early, superintendent, we had an early one for the public forum. We had it a month before you presented your budget last year.
Yeah, so typically we do the budget forum in February.
Yeah.
But then if like it feels like it's hard for folks to comment on anything in the budget until it comes out. And so yeah, that budget forum happened at a board meeting. And so but it's good to point that out that we should make sure we're advertising that so folks are aware and can engage there too.
yeah. And do people have thoughts about the number of sessions we should do in the spring?
Would that be including the budget ones? Are we keeping those separate? Are they going to be community engagement and budget and like at the same time?
Yeah, I think we do both. And we tried to make the budget section maybe shorter I think in the past we haven't really gone in with a presentation. I think it is helpful to have a couple slides to ground us at the beginning, or even just a handout that we can use if we don't want to do, have a screen or anything like that, but just a handout. I thought that was really helpful to have the maps for folks to take with them. So maybe we could do just like a 1 or 2 pager. We just have to make sure that we have it translated. So that might be tricky. Uh,
And
but I guess no, go ahead.
is there a closure on the border, the boundaries?
Yeah, and that's a great. I'm going to talk at the board meeting tomorrow night. So the committee did make recommendations, but it has to now come to the board, and the board will kind of like wrestle and amend it if needed, and then pass something. I think like the biggest thing is that there isn't like a new set of boundaries that the committee agreed on for the middle schools, and there's only a slight modification at the elementary level, because the committee really felt like the changes that were being proposed in the final versions really didn't get us close enough to the problem that we were seeking to solve, but would cause a lot of disruption for a lot of families, and it felt like the juice wasn't worth the squeeze is a idiom that a lot of people have been using. So that will come to the board, but there's still recommendations around policy and other considerations. So that we're still trying to figure out if that will be at this next board meeting on the 16th or a full presentation in the new year. And so did we do 6 or 5 this fall total?
I think it is 5.
Great.
Yeah. 5 virtual, 2 schools, United Way, multilingual.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just add one additional piece? We did one that was not at 6 o'clock. And so we did the one that was focused for our multilingual families at I think 10 o'clock. And we got a good participation, and there was sort of mixed feedback on that. And so I'm wondering if we maybe do 2 for multilingual, or if we do 2 day sessions, or how we want to do that. I know day sessions are hard for board members, and for some members of the community, depending on their job, in the same way that the 6 p.m. is hard. So curious on that.
What do people think?
How was engagement last spring when we did it at 6 p.m. versus now? Are we seeing less people showing up at 10 a.m.?
We just did the one at 10 a.m. this year. The rest of
Yeah.
them were at that like same 5 or 6.
Mhm.
And like there was good turnout. And credit to Grace's team around that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So Grace, I'm curious your thoughts.
Well, you will get two different people, sets of group, whatever your time is, depending on the jobs of people. So that is always the issue, is the um, work hours for families. But we have been doing a lot of our family parent advisory meeting in the morning. That seems to be a better attendance. But I mean, of course, if it's an important topic, like at the special ed meeting, they were there at 6 o'clock. I think our attendance in the multilingual, I think they're engaged. This year is very good attendance in all of the events that we run, except for one group.
That's awesome
One
to hear.
language group.
Yeah. I don't know, like maybe it is worth considering to do like 2 morning sessions. One is specifically multilingual, one is not, but obviously anybody would be welcome to those. And then one 6 o'clock, one virtual in the evening. And yes, was that clear? I don't know if that was totally clear. Would it be possible to have a school one in the daytime or no?
That's hard to do in a school. No, we have to use the
Okay.
same venue that we used last
Yep.
time. It will be out of it's a community, and it's hard to use a
Yep.
community partner day because they have also
Yeah.
programming.
Programming during the day. Okay. So then maybe we just leave it as is. Um, I do wonder though if we could advertise like having childcare in the evening ones. I think that would be awesome. And I really appreciate, Grace, that your team always brings, like small snacks and water too. So continuing to do that feels important.
Mhm.
Does that sound all right to other people?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so we're looking at March for another round of community engagement. Awesome.
Can I just ask, not to put cart before horse, but just what we did in this last um, set of engagements was we did it opposite the board meetings. No, we didn't. We did it the same week as the board meetings,
Same.
the same week. And so that would put community engagement on Wednesday, the 11th and 12th of March, and then again on the 25th and 26th. We may lose one of those based on the joint finance committee meeting with the city. I think they meet on Wednesdays. And so that may be the little bit of challenge. So just curious if we want to keep that similar structure as well, of doing the same week as the board meetings.
It felt like a lot to me to do. It was because it was 4 nights straight, and having a kiddo to balance and juggle for 4 nights straight is just hard. So I don't know what other patterns might be possible, but if there could be more space between them or on the off week, I think I would be interested in that. But I'd also am curious what other committee members think. Yeah, go ahead, Jane. I see you all coming off and on mute. Feel free. No opinion.
Uh, it's it's fine to me. I actually had a question. The session that's for multilingual families at 10 a.m. Could anyone attend that session? So anyone who like works nights could go to that session. Okay. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to me if it's the same week or the opposite weeks. It's nice to have a little, a couple evenings in a week that aren't tied up, but
Yeah. Board member Noor and Ali, do you have thoughts about what would be good for you or in general?
For me personally, it would be nice to have it be on the off weeks. Because I'm in school and doing homework after meetings sometimes is really hard. But whatever the board decides, I'd be okay with.
Yeah, no changes for me. I mean, whatever you guys decide on this one, I'm okay with it.
Okay. All right. So if we can make them on the off weeks, because I had 2 people ask for the off weeks and then 2 people say that they didn't really have an opinion. So if we can make them on the off weeks, that would be great. But I understand it may not happen because of scheduling, and that's okay. Great. Dr. Valenzuela, does it feel like you need anything else from us to start to get those scheduled for the spring?
No, and just want to a reminder that I think the student ones are already plotted
Awesome.
for spring.
Great. I don't
I think most
think that I've
schools have
seen those come on the
most
calendar yet.
schools, no, most
Okay.
schools are already in the original sign-up sheet. I think most schools have signed up.
Awesome. That's great. Beautiful. Yeah. Board member Noor, go ahead.
Would we be using the same community partner or would we look for a different one? United Way. If it was a good turnout, then I'd say keep it, but just wanted to ask.
It's it was an easy one. There was parking. It seems like everybody knows. A lot of people know where it is. I was actually surprised with the attendance on that one.
Me too. Me too. And I think it was like a lot of Row and Longfellow families, which are, kind of in that area, I guess, ish. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And Reiki too.
Yeah.
It's accessible. It's more central.
I think the parking is key too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Anything else about engagement sessions, either this fall's sessions or the spring? Okay, then seeing none, I think we can, Dr. Valenzuela, if you are ready to walk us through kind of your plan, that would be awesome.
I have a slide presentation that Dr. Scallon's gonna put up there. So I just want to say that it was written as a position paper, but it is not my position. I just want to, I just wrote it for you thinking that it is a draft so that the committee can have an opportunity to look at something, to discuss engaging our stakeholders in the legislative affairs and the impact that they have on what we do as an educational institution. And as you know, decisions that are made by the main legislature have a direct and lasting impact on uh, Portland Public Schools, and this impact. These decisions impact how we fund schools, how we staff our classrooms, support multilingual and neurodiverse learners, and transportation, and creating pathways for adult learners to access education and workforce opportunities. So one thing that marks us different from other district, makes us really, really like somehow of an outlier, is that we are the largest and most diverse school district in the state. And our families and our students bring a wide range of lived experiences, backgrounds, languages, and needs. And it is important to recognize that because of that diversity, state level policy decisions can have very different impact on our community than in other parts of the state where student demographics are far more different than ours. So just want to highlight that. And the other thing is that when we recognize that PPS staff, families, adult learners, and community partners, when they are all informed and engaged, we are better positioned to ensure that policies reflect the real conditions and needs of our schools and our learners. So we have, the next slide, Ryan. So the guiding principles for engagement and advocacy. So the foundation of this work rests on these principles, and it's important. So first, our approach to legislative engagement is non-partisan. So this is about policy, education policy, and student outcomes, not politics. So, second, we have to emphasize transparency and clarity. Legislative processes are so complex. So, even for English learners, speakers, you've been lived in this culture, it's really so complex. And it's essential that all stakeholders receive accurate, accessible information so then they can engage meaningfully. So third, we believe in collaboration. So we have to collaborate. All of our different stakeholders need to collaborate because we all hold different perspectives and strengths. And when these voices are aligned, then we become far more impactful. And finally, everything should be learner-centered, from our youngest pre-K students to adult learners building new skills. The advocacy should reflect the educational conditions individuals need to succeed. And next slide, please. So this is just an overview of the strategies for advocacy, and as we think about how this position paper moves from principle to practice, this is the section that talks about strategies by different stakeholder group. So all of the different stakeholders in Portland Public Schools interacts with and experiences state policy differently. So rather than applying a one-size-fits-all approach, the framework recognizes the unique voices, the unique roles and strengths of each group brings to the table. So the strategies are that are going to be in the following 3 slides are designed to support informed, voluntary, and nonpartisan engagement, ensuring that anyone who chooses to participate has clear information, appropriate tools, and consistent guidance while keeping the focus firmly on learner needs and educational impact. Next slide, please. So this is the strategy for the staff. So these are for staff and school and district leaders. And it emphasizes on for this group informed and professional engagement. So that means staying connected to district legislative updates and understanding how proposed bill may affect schools and programs. And educators are really often the most credible voices when it comes to describing the real world impact of policy decision because they're face to face with the students every day. So we will encourage staff to share specific student-centered examples with lawmakers while always maintaining professionalism and respect. And this also includes coordination with professional association and ensuring leaders have the tools, guidance they need to communicate consistently across the district. Next slide, please. This one is for strategies that we can utilize with parents, caregivers, and also the adult learners. So families and adult learners are essential partners in the work that we do. So it calls for them having clear, family-friendly, and when possible, of course, information in different language groups about the proposed legislation. And these allow them to engage as informed constituents. And they're encouraged to share their personal experiences, what has helped their children or themselves as learners succeed, and where are the gaps, and how proposed policies may affect access and opportunity. So we should also be engaging through our PTOs, or school family councils, and the Family Partnership Advisory Committee that the district has, and adult education networks that provide natural and trusted entry points for participation. So the next strategy is for community and organizational partners. So they play a powerful role in reinforcing connection between strong schools, strong communities, strong learners, and strong workforce. So this group will include nonprofit organizations, service providers, institutions of higher ed, and civic groups. And these partners can help amplify advocacy efforts through joint forums, shared statements, op-ed pieces in the newspaper, and so in a coordinated outreach. So, most importantly, community partners can also reduce barriers to participation by supporting interpretation, providing meeting space, maybe offering transportation, and helping families and adult learners engage in ways that they feel accessible and welcoming. So the next slide step is for implementation. So this is some practical next step for your consideration is to develop a district-wide legislative engagement toolkit that includes talking points, contact information, templates, guidance on participation, particularly when there is a legislative bill that we want to advocate on. And second, if we can designate or identify a legislative liaison for each school and adult ed, so that then they can help coordinate communication and share updates during legislative session. So that would be a voluntary, role in that we can assign somebody to take on. And third, using our existing communication channels, our newsletters, district-wide and school newsletters for updates. I was thinking specifically of having a kind of like a regular column in the different newsletters that is focused on legislative information. So what we want is a consistent information that goes across all different groups and all different schools. And of course, language access remains central to all of these. And so families and adult learners have equitable engagement in opportunities. And in closing, this paper is not about, so the last slide, Ryan, is not about, I just want to emphasize, this is not about us directing advocacy. It's about creating shared understanding, educating people, and providing a space and opportunity for engagement. So when educators, adult learners, families, community partners, when we are all informed and aligned, then we can help as a school district shape state policy that supports equitable funding, strong learning environments, and success for learners of all age groups. So that's sort of like the overall. And then I think that I sent the position paper. I don't know if it made the agenda. If you have that draft, it says draft on each page. So that paper has the details. And I didn't know how to organize it, so I just called it a position paper. Just, you know, but certainly it's not my position. It's just like putting everything on paper so that then you have the opportunity to reflect as a discussion point.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Valenzuela. Does anybody on the committee have questions? Yeah, go ahead, Board Member Sawtelle.
I don't know if this is so much a question, but having grown up in rural Maine, I think a huge part of advocacy for those of us who live and work in Portland and the people who represent us to the rest of the state is going to need to take on the task of correcting some, misunderstandings. I think because we are truly a unique district, and there's a lot of negative opinion about Portland as a city and by extension the Portland schools. So I'm just wondering, like we had talked about, there's a lobbyist for the city of Portland who works in the legislature, right? Um, and how much does that person speak up for the Portland schools and try to clarify what it's like here? Let me backtrack. A few of us today went to Peaks Island School, and I think that visit, even though I think all of us sort of kind of knew a lot about Peaks Island, it was really eye-opening. And I feel like we need to get people who live in very different parts of the state here to see that, we're not just Boston North, if that makes any sense at all. I feel like I'm rambling and having a hard time putting my thoughts together, but that presentation speaks a lot to like Portland advocating to other Portlanders and to our Portland representatives. But I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done to the people who really see Portland as just not, this is not the real Maine.
Yeah, no, Board Member Sawtelle, like I think you brought up a lot of really good points. Like one, I think like helping people in our community be able to tell the story of our community that is like authentic and in their own voices, right? Testimony or reaching out directly to legislators is so important. And I do think that there is a fair amount of education that could be done with legislators, both Portland-based ones and otherwise, to really help them, like you said, like what is it like to go to school on an island, and like why is it important that we keep our island schools open, right? And so I think that both of those things I think can happen within this plan for sure. Board member Noor or board member Ali. Ali, any thoughts or questions?
I had questions about the toolkit and how that would look like. Would it be like a resource page? Would it be like how would this be accessible? Or is that something we need to discuss and figure out? Yes.
Yeah, all of the above is
Yeah.
what it would look like. So a toolkit that would include different templates for talking points, explaining some. It depends on what the item is for that we need to promote, because we also need to research all of those information so that then we sound like we know what we're saying and what the impact is, data that's needed to present information. So it will include all of that, and I think the other part of that is that we can have a space in the website where we could also include information related to you know um, uh, in our advocacy.
And anything that's on our website would be available in a different language?
It
In different
automatically
languages?
does. You choose
Okay,
your,
great.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. And then to be able to, like have a landing page that people could get to that then the board could also send out and connect people to would be great.
But there's so much to learn in terms of how to navigate Augusta. And it's not just for newcomers here, but even for those who have lived there here all their lives. It's a whole different, you know, space and formalities and rules. And so, I mean, we really need to educate ourselves in terms of how we can successfully do that and to find allies within and among the legislative committee or delegation, not just here, but the entire body of legislators in the state.
Mhm. And I think that there will also be opportunity with that around issues that affect more than one place, right? So like I think school funding is like it's not just Portland that's having issues with school funding. So I think it'll be interesting to think about how do we identify potential relationships around those topics, and then yeah, like how do we do it? How do we do it? And I like also as we're talking about all of this, like I'm just wondering in terms of like capacity, like Grace, like what is that? Everything you've lined out here, does it seem like you have capacity to be able to do those things? I don't know if you could just talk a little bit about how you see it like folding. Um,
It's not just going to be because we have to partner with our communications team with this one. So I think, we have to partner with organizations that actually do this work, this kind of work, because content wise, there's also that content that we need to share, and there are experts. Um, I think there are different ways of doing it. It's more of like the coordinating of the pieces but the actual, you know, there should be pieces that are done by if we want to really do a strong coalition. And the other thing that I thought as Jane was board member Sotel was talking about how the other side of Maine, other parts of the state. Just I don't know if you know that most schools district in the state that receive newcomer students and all of a sudden they have one or two or three kids, they call us. They call multilingual and seek our advice in terms of how to support students. One of the things, so in other words, I can initially say, well, support us and this is how we do it, and we can have a partnership in that kind of an understanding of how we could work together and support them. But as part of a professional conduct, right? You share information, you with all of these. They always connect with us.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think discovering even, yeah, like points of connection like that, I think are just like so valuable, right?
Mhm.
Because it is like such relational work once you get through the technicalities of the website and how to pass a bill, right? Um, and so do you have a sense, Grace, of like how like the around these things that you're proposing?
How to
Just like when we think that the toolkit might be available or there will be like communication, like the liaison selected and things like that. Do you have a sense of how long take to
How long
get up and
that would
going?
be? Ooh, I don't know because we're in the middle of the budget too, and having all
Yeah,
of these things that are in front of us. So I imagine that, but of course the legislative session is happening now. I think it will be driven by what's on the table.
yeah,
But we really need to have some kind of a basic toolkit for a template for talking points and just guidance in terms of what
yeah,
we could do, but it really is dependent on what legislation is on the table right now. Do you know, like I was thinking more in terms of that list that you have that we have been talking about, is what are the priority items there and what is really going to be taken up, and then what is your priority in terms of which ones to that we will, because we can't do all of that long
yeah.
list. I think we can start there and figure out what it is, and then from there we can design something.
Superintendent.
Yeah, Grace, what you were saying there makes a lot of sense to me. I was also wondering because you shared a number of strategies. I'm wondering if the other question that we wrestle with is which of those strategies do we get in place our first go around of this versus have in the future, right? So is the toolkit the right piece? Is it to figure out partners or like or the website? And so I'm wondering that piece as well.
I think that's a very good question, but I'm thinking more in terms of um a splash, and a real understanding of this is now what we're going to do in terms of legislative affairs. And so then therefore we will have this kind of big session with families who are interested, and from there we can help a committee that will form help write the toolkit, help do some of the communication pieces, write something, because we all are busy in our lives. You all are busy. So we really need the help and the in on the ground by people who are also our stakeholders are interested in this work. So to bring them over to do that work is going to be important so that then we are not the one doing the all the legwork on this one, but it really is engaging people from the ground.
Yeah, so I think like I'm curious from other committee members, like if you feel like there's a priority or like a thing that you want to start with to then kind of like build on. Because you're right, Grace, like there's so many layers to this, right? And even just like navigating the maine.gov website is like a whole layer, and how like helping the public understand how to use that and how to submit testimony is hard, right? And so I wonder kind of what folks are thinking as might be like, yeah, priority to them.
I'd say for the toolkits, if it's not everything that Dr. Valenzuela has mentioned, like just like the basics of what is legislature, what are the priorities that are related to education, just the very basics of it down at least. And then working from there and then having all these resources and templates and all these things. And I think there should be interest and there probably is interest with the liaisons. So I'd love to see that happen and see if anyone in the schools are volunteering. So those two.
And even just to have those liaisons, like I see them as the people that do like that plug the community engagement sessions, right? And the school newsletters, like if they could just be highlighting like the web page or the toolkit, however it takes form, I think that could be really helpful. Board Member Sawtelle or Board Member Ali, do you have any thoughts?
I think as a first step, it would be important for us as a committee, or with some guidance to determine one or two specific things that we could ask people to engage with, and then give them really simple, concrete ways of, yes, submitting testimony or contacting legislators, or, what does it look like to write an email advocating for a certain point. It I think it needs to be easy, and people who have never done it before need some guidance as to what exactly they need to address. Because you look, even with the chart that you've worked so hard on, there's just a lot of stuff there and hard to know where it is in the process, and when to act. So I think for initial steps, it would be good to isolate something that people could do right away, and even if it's boilerplate, it's a good first step.
Board Member Ali, did you want to add anything?
Um, Not in particular, but I really do like the discussion, including what Jane said and Grace had presented. But yeah, I'm in full support. The and however we can do it, and connecting folks on the ground to the legislature. And legislature, they are a mess themselves. Every single day they're running. The representatives, they don't even know what the hell they're going to run into. But when it comes to the processes and it comes to the policies and how these bills are written, and how they can advocate, I think that'd be a great, a great possibility. So we can figure out someone who can do it.
Um, Awesome. So Representative Brennan is going to be at our next meeting next week to talk us through the policies that he has, or the bills that he has in session, which I think will be helpful. I think we can ask him questions. I think we can get to understand the bills better. And then I just wonder if maybe it might be worth, like, of our list, like choosing 3 to 5 bills that we want to focus on some community engagement around. 3 is fine, like if we feel like we can put in a couple more, but just like you said, like really simplifying to try to like help people learn for this cycle, and that we do, like, if we focus really on some of those bills. Sorry, and then the other piece of this is that I got an updated list from the city about the bills that they're tracking and looking at. So I'm going to put that information into our tracker, because if we know like that they're doing some engagement there, like again, like thinking collectively, is that where we kind of like coalesce around that? So I'll add that information for next time as well. Yeah, Board Member Sawtelle, go ahead.
Would it be a good idea to let, say, PTOs know that he's going to be here at that next meeting and that they can attend virtually and hear him talk and submit questions?
I mean, that would be awesome. I don't know what the uptick will take on it, but I think that would be great if we could facilitate that. I don't know if we can do the turnaround fast enough. That's going to be the other piece about communications is going to be hard around this, is the bills move fast once they get going. So we could certainly try. And Grace, I don't know, do you ever reach out directly to PTOs, or are you thinking mostly through newsletters? Like, because I feel like we probably have missed a newsletter opportunity. So,
I I think it's important for me to have something to reach out to as a reason to reach out to PTOs. That is really an impactful, meaningful engagement. So
yeah,
this one would be, if particularly if there's a certain bill, then if this is about lens of advocacy, that would be a way to really present something to them. So yeah, I can reach out in that sense and attend their meetings if this is something that we're going to go decide that this is something that we want to really focus on for the next, you know, the next before the school year ends and then moving forward. The session will be, the legislators are in session starting January, correct? Yeah. So it's
yeah,
important to know what's really on, being lined up right now and what is remnants of and still not closed from the previous session.
yeah,
And there's
yeah,
plenty, it seems, because there are
yes,
a lot of bills that did not get completed with signature from the governor.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think if you wanted to like email the PTOs, I don't know if you want to like
Yeah.
I'm just like cognizant of your capacity, and I don't think you need to go to all the
No, no,
PTO
no. I mean,
meetings, but
but that's what I mean by,
yeah,
I usually just call
okay,
somebody. I think one of the things is that I am questioning is how we will measure success. So for us, I want to be clear in terms of what that means. Because for me, it's not, are we measuring success based on outcomes of specific legislation? Or
no,
are we measuring engagement and access? I think those are two different sets. So I think we want to make sure that that's clear that, you know, indicators for success would really be about the education of our people and their engagement in this, and that that we are all part of the conversation. I think for us that will be the measurement, correct, not the outcome. Yeah.
yeah, no, I think we're building a baby machine and we just are getting the parts this year. Like that's how I see it. That it's like if we can get 10 people to submit testimony, written testimony, I think that maybe it's a little bit higher than that, but I think that's what we see is that like we have multiple people engaging with submitting testimony on bills. Like, and beyond that, I don't think we can really expect that yet. And certainly I don't expect us to change the outcome of bills. I mean, it would be great if we did, but I think that is maybe year two. Awesome. Okay, so next steps, it seems like on that is inviting PTOs to come to this meeting next Monday to submit questions. When they're here, we could open them up and invite them in if folks show up to talk to Representative Brennan. And then in terms of other next steps, like around the toolkit or other advocacy things, I'm not sure what feels realistic to you, Dr. Valenzuela, or if you have thoughts.
um December is typically quiet. So maybe there's room for thinking about that in terms of the toolkit.
I wonder if or even just like, I wonder if we could pull from other people's like Maine Women's Lobby who has done some,
Yeah,
and
that's
like
what, I
model
was
it.
thinking of. Yeah, I was thinking that they actually have even graphics associated with that.
Yeah,
And we can definitely utilize those. And they have done presentation for us before when Danya was there.
yeah, yeah. Oh, she's great. Um, okay. So then when we So next week we'll just be focused on a conversation with Representative Brennan. But then when we come back in the new year, maybe we can just see what you've been able to develop and go from there. And then that also meeting when we come back in January will be about potentially picking priority bills out of our priority bills for community engagement. Does that sound right to people? Is there anything we're missing around these next couple of meetings that people feel like is important? Okay, well then that's what we will move forward with. And I will also just update the bill tracker before the end of the year with as much information. I don't know when things are going to start to get scheduled, but I'll do my best on that. And then also making sure that we cross-reference with the city on their tracker. Then I think if we don't have anything else, we can adjourn here, but just want to give another beat just in case there's anything else that needs to be said tonight. All right, then I would make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Noor. All those in favor of adjourning? Great, so we are adjourned at 8:29 p.m. And I will see you all tomorrow at inauguration at 6 p.m. Also make sure to check your emails if you haven't today, but I'll see everybody tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.